In One Piece, every powerful character needs supporting characters to highlight their strength. Only by having others serve as stepping stones can these powerful figures truly shine in terms of their status and abilities. Today, let's look at how various major and minor bosses were introduced throughout the series and who served as their stepping stones. First is Buggy the Clown from the East Blue Saga. When Buggy first appeared, Oda arranged for Zoro to be his stepping stone. Before Luffy's battle with Buggy, Zoro was defeated first and was stabbed severely in the back. Fortunately, Zoro recovered quickly. If he hadn't, his subsequent duel with Mihawk would have been quite awkward. The next minor bosses Luffy encountered was Kuro. This time, Oda chose to have Kuro's subordinates serve as stepping stones. Although Kuro showed his ruthlessness by attacking his own crew with his cat claws technique, his attacks had no effect on Luffy. Due to the unimpressive nature of his stepping stones, people generally felt that Kuro's strength was underwhelming. Next up was Don Krieg, but before his appearance, Hawkeye Mihawk, one of the 7 warlords, made his entrance. Considering the priority, Oda first focused on Mihawk, having him defeat Krieg's entire crew and effortlessly overwhelming Zoro. Due to Mihawk's precise and devastating attacks, his status as the world's greatest swordsman was firmly established. After Mihawk, logic would suggest it was Krieg's turn, but surprisingly, Gin got the spotlight first. Oda had him defeat Zeph, then Pearl with his iron shield, and even Sanji, who was about to join Luffy's crew. Poor Krieg didn't get any stepping stones, and even when he went berserk at the end, he was overshadowed by Gin. With Gin having 4 stepping stones to his name, Krieg appeared lackluster in comparison. When Luffy arrived at Kokoyasi village and encountered Arlong to demonstrate the terrifying strength of the fishmen, Oda had both Sanji and Zoro serve as stepping stones. After Luffy's 2 strongest crew members were defeated, his subsequent victory over Arlong had the intended dramatic effect. Finally, when Luffy had gathered most of his crew and was preparing to enter the Grand Line, Smoker's appearance in Logtown left a strong impression on viewers. This was because Oda gave Smoker several stepping stones. He easily subdued both Buggy and his crew, and even Luffy himself couldn't escape this treatment. However, this would be Smoker's last shining moment. When Luffy and his crew entered the Grand Line and the story progressed to the Alabasta arc, Oda first introduced the Little Garden mini-arc. 3 bosses appeared during this time, and not only did they defeat most of the Straw Hat crew members, but they also easily overcame 2 giants with 100 million berry bounties. This is why many years later, people still remember Mr. 3 and his companions. When Luffy was about to face the arc's final boss, Crocodile, Luffy himself served as a stepping stone, being defeated multiple times. This helped establish Crocodile's formidable status and strength. After Luffy finally defeated him through multiple attempts, the audience truly understood how hard-earned this victory was. Next, Luffy's opponent was Enel, who received perhaps the most generous treatment of all. Oda arranged for almost everyone to serve as his stepping stone. Every living being on Skypiea, except for Luffy, was destined to fall before Enel. Because of this unprecedented treatment, even though Enel was defeated many story arcs ago, his overwhelming power remains vivid in viewers' minds. Next came the Water 7 saga, but before it began, Marine Admiral Aokiji suddenly made his appearance. Since there weren't many potential stepping stones around, Oda had to use the entire Straw Hat crew, which made the effect somewhat average. Fortunately, Oda later supplemented this by having Frankie defeat Kaku, making Aokiji's overall treatment quite decent. When the Water 7 arc properly began and Rob Lucci appeared as the boss, Oda chose Luffy and Zoro as stepping stones again. Interestingly, even with just these 2 stepping stones, Lucci's status was immediately established. This was because previous Zone Devil Fruit users hadn't shown much impressive performance, and usually served as stepping stones themselves. However, this time, Lucci, as a Zoan user, managed to defeat Paramecia users, which explained his immediate rise to prominence. After defeating Rob Lucci, Luffy and his crew arrived at Thriller Bark. By this point, Gecko Moria, the arc's boss, had already claimed Brook as a stepping stone and proceeded to defeat all of Luffy's crew members. However, despite having so many stepping stones, Moria's status didn't reach the same level as Enel's. This was because Moria's fighting style, which relied heavily on using ores, seemed too dependent on external resources. When Luffy leveled up to become a supernova and arrived at Sabaody Archipelago, the island gathered many other exceptional young pirates of his caliber. Just when everyone thought these young pirates would shine, Admiral Kizaru's arrival turned these promising rookies into mere island stepping stones. During an era when his appearance was still relatively normal, Kizaru's effortless defeat of the supernovas instantly amazed everyone. Combined with his laid-back personality, this elevated his status to the extreme. After the Sabaody Archipelago arc, Luffy arrived at Impel Down, where Magellan, the prison's boss, received quite generous treatment. Not only did he defeat Blackbeard and his crew, who had just captured Ace, but even Luffy and his newly gathered allies were no match for him. Although Magellan was eventually defeated by Blackbeard teaming up with Shiryu and level 6 prisoners, his formidable status wasn't significantly diminished. Then came the Marineford War arc from 2 years ago. Both Whitebeard and Akainu made their first moves here, so both needed stepping stones to highlight their tremendous power. The Marine Giant Vice Admirals immediately served as stepping stones for Whitebeard. Meanwhile, Akainu gained Whitebeard's son Ace as his stepping stone. Ace's death instantly elevated Akainu's status to a new height, as previously, stepping stones in One Piece never died, but this rule suddenly changed with Akainu. Although Whitebeard only got a few giant vice admirals as stepping stones, at the final moment when no one could stop Akainu, only Whitebeard could trade blows with him, which elevated his status accordingly. Most importantly, Whitebeard had the setting of being terminally ill, so when he endured so much damage and died standing, his status far surpassed that of other elderly characters who were in good health. After the Marineford War arc, the story immediately jumped to 2 years later. When the Straw Hat crew returned from their training, they arrived at Fishman Island. Hody Jones appeared as the arc's boss, but he was embarrassingly weak. Oda could only arrange for a few worthless princes to serve as his stepping stones. This boss was so weak that not only Luffy but even Zoro or Sanji could easily defeat him. Therefore, Oda had to make Hody fight Luffy briefly before running away, using various external factors to prevent continuous combat. As a result, his status was far below that of Arlong, who appeared much earlier. Next came the Dressrosa arc, which paralleled the Alabasta arc. Before Dressrosa officially began, there was a transitional mini-arc, the Punk Hazard arc. When Caesar first appeared, Oda immediately had Luffy and his companions serve as stepping stones. However, this was only because they were unfamiliar with his abilities. Once they understood his powers, Caesar quickly received the treatment of being knocked out with a punch. Additionally, this arc had another mini-bosses with maximum status, Virgo, who could use full-body armament haki. Since he defeated Smoker, who 2 years ago had been chasing Luffy everywhere, Virgo's initial appearance was indeed impressive. However, just after gaining Smoker as a stepping stone, he quickly became a stepping stone himself for Law in less than an hour. After Law's strength was established, it was his turn to become a stepping stone in the next Dressrosa arc. Before using Law as a stepping stone, Doflamingo had already claimed Sanji from the Straw Hat crew as one. Meanwhile, a new Marine Admiral, Fujitora, also appeared in this arc. However, every time he exchanged blows with someone, the system forcibly interrupted them. This resulted in him not getting any stepping stones at all. Later, when Sabo arrived and fought him to a stalemate, his treatment was clearly inferior to that of Kizaru, one of the original 3 admirals. Then Luffy invaded Whole Cake Island and officially faced a Yonko. At this point, Big Mom basically got all possible stepping stones, even including the giant Goldberg from her childhood memories as a stepping stone. However, Big Mom's damage output was extremely unstable. When hitting allies, she would definitely critical hit for 9,999,999 damage, but when hitting enemies like Kid and Law, they would mysteriously become more energetic the more she hit them. When Gear 4th Luffy defeated Doflamingo with 3 punches and then defeated Katakuri, the title of 5th Emperor immediately echoed across the seas. Just when viewers thought Luffy could stand equal with the Yonko, Teacher Kaido's single Thunder Bagua destroyed Luffy's dream of becoming king. The powerful contrast combined with the line, "What kind of king did you aspire to be?" instantly elevated Kaido's villain status to the extreme. Following this, Kaido received another unprecedented treatment. He was arranged to fight in continuous battles, with one stepping stone after another being sent to him. Moreover, he never got a moment's rest, or even a proper meal. Under such arrangements, Kaido's status indeed reached 99%, with the remaining 1% only because he encountered the hero of men. Since Kaido began fighting Luffy and others, he's been constantly eating smile fruits. Whenever he's injured or hungry, he takes a bite of the hero of men. So while Kaido's treatment was good, even he had to take a bite of Caesar in the face of the hero of men's overwhelming position. Meanwhile, a new Marine Admiral, Ryokugyu, appeared in the Wano arc. Ryokugyu's treatment seemed even more pitiful than Fujitora's, because after coming to Wano, he could only claim the few remaining scabbards that Kaido left behind as stepping stones, and then was scared away by Shanks after dealing with these useless stepping stones. Next came the Egghead Island arc. In this arc, many veteran characters began making their debuts. Red-haired Shanks got Kid, who had just defeated a Yonko, and instantly elevated his status to the extreme by defeating him with one divine departure. Then the 5 elders, who had been sitting in their office for over 1,000 chapters, finally took action. However, unfortunately, despite both flashbacks and direct action, they only got wheelchair-bound Cobra and 1 innocent Marine soldier as stepping stones. Moreover, they had to share Cobra with Im as stepping stones. In the end, each only got 0.166 Cobra, which explains why their status was merely average. The legendary Marine hero Garp, who had been waiting for his chance, also made his debut. If we analyze the pattern of stepping stones for strong characters' first appearances in One Piece, you'll find that if there are giants on the battlefield, Oda will prioritize arranging them as stepping stones. If there are no giants, he'll arrange some small fry, and if there are no small fry, he'll choose Straw Hat crew members. If he wants to show overwhelming strength, he'll consider using protagonist Luffy as a stepping stone. However, this pattern became awkward with Garp. First, San Juan Wolf of the Blackbeard Pirates is a giant, so he should have definitely been a stepping stone for Garp. However, Garp killed him with 1 punch, and he never appeared among those surrounding Garp. Besides him, Oda didn't use any other Blackbeard Pirates members as stepping stones for Garp. Logic would suggest that if Oda wasn't willing to use the Blackbeard Pirates as stepping stones for Garp, giving him a few regular soldiers shouldn't be a problem. However, for some reason, Oda specifically arranged for a 2-eyed soldier to take Garp's galaxy impact, then prominently positioned this soldier unharmed, as if afraid viewers wouldn't notice this detail. Since neither Small Fry nor Blackbeard's executives were used as stepping stones for Garp, they could have shown his prowess through injuries like they did with Whitebeard. Whitebeard took 267 sword wounds during the Marineford War, so they could have given Garp 100 or more wounds. Having him standing with 100 swords stuck in him while being devoured by the Seraphim would have made his exit truly historic. However, Oda, for some reason, wasn't willing to give Garp even 1 extra wound, arranging for him to fall after just 1 hit, and specifically showing him lying down rather than standing. In the end, Garp's debut only had a bunch of buildings as stepping stones, making his debut treatment the most pitiful in One Piece. What do you think about how Oda uses stepping stones to establish his character's power levels? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like and subscribe to Amy Chan for more One Piece content. Thanks for watching!